In this video, I'm going to go through how to use Excel to make a graph of some experimental data. So this is some data that I've already entered off of the worksheet, and I'm just going to enter the last couple of data points here. We've got 200, and with 200 goes 38.8, and then I'm going to put in the 250 and the 42.8. Now, when you put this stuff into Excel, whatever you're going to graph on the x-axis, it's easiest if you put that in the first column, and then whatever goes on the y-axis in the second column. And I did put the headings on here, and you can see you can't see this heading, so you can fix that by just going up till the cursor changes to this little thing and double-clicking, and it'll spread it out so you can see the whole thing. That's not horribly important, but that you might find that better. You can do the same thing with this one. So when you want to make a graph, all you've got to do then is once you have your data entered, and I prefer to put it in columns like this, then we'll just highlight the data that we want to make into a graph like that. I just held down the mouse and highlighted all of it. And then up here in the insert menu, okay, you find all these different kinds of graphs. You may be tempted to use a line graph. Don't do it. You want a scatter plot. Scatter plot means you're going to plot x versus y. So we want to plot this versus this on the graph. So scatter plot, and just go ahead and pick the first one that has just the spots on it. It's going to take you to this, and all right, so I can see already that there's a problem with this. I'll show you in a second. I'm going to go ahead and click over here on the side of this, and then right-click brings down this menu, and one of the choices is to move the chart, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, make it a new sheet, because what that does is it blows it up big like this so I can see it. Notice that I've got this point down here, because I put the wrong number in, and you may have already noticed that. So I can just go back and fix that. That was this number right here. It should have been 42.8. So there, 42.8. And then if I go back to my chart, which is down here, is chart, or my graph, which they call a chart. Notice that point's gone, and now it's up here where it's supposed to be. All right, so here's the data plotted, but we are missing a bunch of things. So let's go back here to design. See, it says chart tools up here at the top. To design, and just pick the very first one. Okay, pick the very first one and click on that chart layout. And what that does is it shows you the axis tile. If you just click on that and then you type up here at the top, notice up here the words start appearing. This is a little tricky to put in things like degree signs, so I'm just going to type it out like that with the quantity and the unit, and then on the hit enter, I'm sorry. And then on the y-axis, same thing. This time it's volume, and that's in liters. And hit enter. And then we need to give it a title. And I appreciate clever titles, but in this case, let's just do it's temperature versus volume. Okay. So now the data's all plotted here. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look for a trend. And this looks like it's a relatively straight line with maybe some goofy data in here because it's an experiment and there's a mistake. So what you do here is pick one of the points. It doesn't matter which one. Click on it so that they're all highlighted. Then I'm right-clicking, and I'm going to add a trend line. It brings up this dialog box, and it gives me a bunch of suggestions. So what you need to do is you need to look at the data, and the data looks like it fits that straight line pretty well. So I'm just going to keep the linear. And then some other things that you can do with this, there are a lot of other options. One thing I do a lot of times is put the display equation on chart. Let's go ahead and do that, because a lot of times the equation tells us something useful, and you can grab that and move it around. All right, so here is the equation in slope-intercept format. Y equals mx plus b. And in this case, as we'll find later on in chemistry, this B actually is something very useful to us. All right, so here is the graph done. And if I want to print that, I can simply go up to File and Print and tell it I want it to print. If you've done it this way, this will print as one full sheet of paper. Also, if I go back up here to Home, so I get this, and I want to print my data is all right here. I can just print my data as well from here. You can do some fancy stuff and put lines in here and things like that if you'd like to. I'll just show you how to do that real quick. You click on this little thing right here, bring it down and tell it you want all the borders, and there you've got a nice gridded data table ready that can be cut and pasted into a Word document or whatever you like. All right, so there you go. The steps to using Excel to make a graph of your experimental data.